on an airplane and there was internet, high-speed internet on the airplane. That's the newest thing that I know exists. And I'm sitting on the plane, they go, open up your laptop, you can go on the internet, it's fast, and I'm watching YouTube clips, and I'm in an airplane. And then it breaks down, and they apologize, the internet's not working, and the next thing goes, like how quickly the world owes him something he knew existed only 10 seconds ago. It's the worst one because people come back from flights and they tell you their story, and it's like a horror story. They act like their flight was like a cattle car in the 40s in Germany. That's how bad it makes it sound. Like it was the worst day of my flight. First of all, we didn't board for 20 minutes, and then we get on the plane and they made us sit there on the runway for 40 minutes. We had to sit there. Oh, really? What happened next? Did you fly through the air incredibly like a bird? Did you partake in the miracle of human flight and not contributing zero? Well, you're flying! It's amazing! Everybody on every plane should just constantly be going, oh my God! Wow! Yeah! You're flying! You're sitting in a chair in the sky.
All right, I just love that one.
Who's that dude anyway?
Sorry?
Who's that dude?
Who is that dude?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the dude is.
Conan O'Brien and what's the other name?
I forget what his name is.
It's not Kramer, right?
It's not Kramer. No, it's not Kramer. He's some comedian. But he does a really good job of telling a story. He does it without any slides. And there's a million different ways to tell your story. And that's really what a presentation is. Okay? What I'm going to tell you comes out of the book Presentation Zen. If you've read that book or followed that blog, the blog is fantastic. PresentationZen.com is the blog. Or get the book Presentation Zen. It's not very thick, 150 pages. It's written by Garth Reynolds, who's out of Japan. And so what I'm going to be talking about is how do you give a presentation in a new way and get away from using bullet points. You should never, ever again, after today, use a bullet point in your slide. Bullet points are the root of all presentation evil. Okay, remember that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the visual cues that we know the human brain can interpret better. We know through brain research that there are more nerve endings in the end in your eyes than there are in your ears. We also know that the brain cannot process reading and listening at the same time. All right? My name's Jeff Buick. I'm in education. That's why I know all this crap. All right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today is how do you use a presentation that tells your story? And how do you find great pictures legally that you can use in your presentation? Okay? So the first thing to know is that images are what tells your story. That you should never have more than 5 letters, or 5 words, no more than 5 words on any given slide. That's my rule. I do break my rule. I've been up to 7. Right? But how do you find something that will tell your story for you? And the first thing to remember is that less is more. That when you're giving a presentation, you want people focused on you, the presenter, and not the information that's on the slide. The information on the slide frames and gives you, listening to the presentation, a reference point. Okay? But don't feel like you have to put all of your information on the slide. It's there for your audience to give them something to look at, to visually stimulate them as you are talking. So by putting less on your slide, you actually engage with your audience more. And I look around the room, and how many of you are looking at me and not looking up there? Because you've already read the 3 words that are up there. And you have a visual cue of one bird sitting on a telephone line that represents less is more. Because how many times have you ever seen just one bird sitting on a telephone line, right? It's a great picture. All right? How about this one? I love this picture. All right? Because you have to be willing to take a risk. You do not always know how the outcome is going to come. And sometimes you don't even have to use words. This picture could be used for a million different things in a presentation. About risk-taking, about trying something new, about not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So sometimes pictures can tell the story for you. You don't even have to tell your story. All right? The other thing we need to start thinking about when you go to a picture-based presentation is it comes back to photography. It comes back to knowing images. And if anybody's in here into taking photography, you probably noticed this. This is called the rule of thirds. That you want to find pictures that give you at least a third to write your information in. And it's really easy. So you've probably seen this in any digital camera, a lot of digital cameras nowadays. When you look through, it has the kind of lines that kind of help you line up. Well, instead of taking things focused in the center, look for things that land on one of these lines, either vertically or horizontally, to give yourself information. This is a fantastic slide because I have this room, I have the bottom third down here that I could write my 5 to 7 words. Or I could write them up at the top in a nice section there. This is a fantastic slide to be able to use to send your message across. So when you're looking for pictures on the internet, look for pictures that will give you that rule of third to use. We go back to this one. See the rule of third here? My picture is basically the bottom 2/3, and that gives me the top third to use for my writing. Okay? Or how about this one? Right? Okay? 2/3 is the picture, leaves me a third to actually be able to write my content. Okay? The other thing to do, is this going to play? It's not going to play. Use media. This is actually supposed to be a video. I'm having like the worst technology day of my life today, so bear with me. My internet's still not working on my computer. Now the video's not playing, but anyways. But try to use multimedia in your presentations. If you break up your presentations, will it play? Will it play? There we go. If you break up your presentation with multimedia, it gives you, the presenter, a time to relax, allow you to get a drink, but it also changes the focus, and it also backs up your story. Okay? So I'm not going to play this whole thing, but this is a hilarious thing. Alright? So find a video that gives you your purpose. Alright? Find images that show emotion. As humans, we tie ourselves to emotion. I end a lot of my presentations, especially when I'm talking to educators who don't have a clue what I'm talking about, with this slide. Because by the end of the presentation, this is how most of them feel. Right? So find images that will lead, that bring up emotion in people in your audience. All right? And don't allow your text to go forever. Just like as you're building web pages, we know now that this generation, between the ages of 12 and 22, do not scroll on a web page. Anybody seen that research? If you were building web pages that scroll, kids aren't reading it. Facebook is probably the best at this. Facebook somehow jabs a lot in without having hardly any scroll on their web page. But the generation does not scroll, and they do not go below the fold. And the same thing needs to happen with your presentations. Get away from using get away from using bullet points. Don't put so much information on a slide that people can't read it all in the amount of time that you're talking. The information needs to be up here. You need to know your content. If you know your content, then you will be a much better presenter than people who are just reading stuff on the slide, because you can hand them the slide. Okay? So not very much content. Now, here are places you can go to actually find photos. My favorite place is Flickr. Who here uses Flickr? Flickr has just reached over 100 million Creative Commons images that you can use in your presentations. Creative Commons gives you the right to use them. All you have to do is put a link at the end saying that you have the right. And every picture you've seen here comes from Creative Commons. Or comes from Flickr. Every picture that I've ever used comes from Flickr. The best place to go actually is this second link. If you go to search.creativecommons.org, it only searches the 100 million pictures on Flickr that you can use in a presentation. So you don't have to worry about anything else you can. If you use the Creative Commons search, you can do that. Here's the little trick. Once you go there and you search for the picture that you're thinking about, bird sitting on a line or something, right above the picture, and I would show you, but again, I'm having the worst internet day of my life, and I can't get connected. Right above the very first picture, there's a little link that says most interesting. And that really narrows you down to find some good pictures. Okay? Now, does it take forever to find good pictures? Yes, it does. But once you have found your pictures, you can start creating a resource of pictures to use over and over again. Okay? So I'm just going to show you. Any questions before I go on? Yes?
Just a remark, there's no one Creative Commons license, there are some. And
Correct.
it's very important that if you want to use it commercially, there should be the commercial Creative Commons license.
That's right. If you're going to make money off it, you need to use the commercial Creative Commons.
Yeah, actually, if you use it in your company, you are using it commercially
Yes.
for a presentation.
Right.
So
Right.
just
Yeah.
and always give credit.
And always give credit to the people. Please do. Thank you. A couple more slides that show emotion, or just one more slide. Any other questions? I'll show you one that a presentation I gave at a conference just a little while ago. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Here we go. Oh, now I can't find any of. Oh, they're there. Prezos. All right, so here's one. So this is one I gave to a bunch of administrators in Europe. But I'm not going to give you the presentation, but I will just kind of show you how I set up the presentation, if it starts. The other nice thing to invest in is some kind of good remote. This is my favorite. This is a Logitech remote. This was a little expensive. This is about $80, 80 US bucks. But I love this remote because it has a volume control on it. Lets you go forward and backwards. And my favorite is it has a timer. So it will give you, it'll vibrate in your hand at 10 minutes and a 5-minute warning. So if you are at a conference and you want to make sure you don't run over time, it just gives a little vibrating in your hand so you know where you are. So this is a presentation I gave a couple of weeks ago in Portugal. But I just want to take a look. So this was talking with this, to kind of frame it, this is talking to schools who are looking to where do they invest their money in technology in the future. So I play a video. This is actually a video that plays right at the beginning. And then we go in and we talk about the different things that are coming out. This is the only slide that uses a transition in the whole thing with the coming in of the different pictures. The rest of them are screenshots. There's a screenshot, a screenshot, a screenshot. No fancy transitions. Nothing flying around your screen. Get your content up there and get it in front of people. Okay? Then we talk about this, the free university. Everybody know this? You can now get a BA degree online for free. Oh, don't get me started. All right? And then you play a video. All right? Frame people's minds.
I stand before you today to apologize. The system has failed you. I have failed you. I have failed to help you share your talent with the world, and the world needs talent more than ever, yet it's being wasted every day by an educational system steeped in tradition and old ideas. It was time for a new tradition. It was time to realize talent isn't just in schools like this one, it's everywhere. It's time to use technology to rewrite the rules of education. To learn how you learn so we can teach you better. It's time university adapted to you rather than you adapting to it. It's time for a different kind of university. It's your turn.
Okay, so we then go into Horizon Report. This is a report that comes out about how technology is being used in education. Very little transitions. Get the information up. 4 words. 2 or 3 years out, mobile broadband. Put the pictures in front of people. All right. Transitions are a time waster. You don't want to wait for things to get on the stage. Get the content in front and start your presentation. That way people are focusing on you and not focusing on your slides. Also, know where you stand when you're giving your presentation. I mean, I have been walking back and forth with a presentation behind me the whole time. Here's another video. We're not going to watch that one. Another video. Okay? Here's the image. Are you overwhelmed at this point? So know how to move in front of your slides. You know your content. Here's something, I don't think it's on this one. I'm trying to see if I put it on any of these slides. A little hint for yourself. I don't think this one has it. What I will do is, if I have just a picture, sometimes, I'll see if I did it on another one here. Here we go. See if I can find a slide that I did this on. Here we go. All right. So here's a little trick when you're giving presentations, and you know that you know the content, but you need to give yourself a hint. If you look down in this bottom right-hand corner, this is like size 6 font, but because I'm up here, I know that this is 320,000. All right? 320,000 is the number that goes with this slide as I'm telling the story of this slide. And so on different slides, you will see these are notes to myself. Right? So this is, there are 3.3 billion cell phones in the world. That's 2.8 trillion text messages are sent every year, which equals 2.8 billion text messages sent every day, or roughly 92,000 text messages sent every second. Right? Now, I can't remember the order of that, but I have my cheat sheet in the bottom right-hand corner that nobody knows. If I don't point that out to you, you probably don't even notice it because you're focused here and here. Right? It's a little cheat sheet. Right? But man, I seem like I really know what I'm talking about. And the great part is I just have to look up there. I don't have to actually look at the numbers because I look right there. I know the first number is the phone, the second number is the year, the day, and the seconds that we send text messages. Right? All right? There you can see another note. Right? That's a great picture. Right? Let your pictures tell the stories for you. Right? Use a lot of pictures. Any questions? We've only got about 5 minutes left. Questions or comments? Yes.
If you do a presentation that's very high content and you're talking in front of a foreign crowd, for example, Thailand, and you're teaching or presenting in English, don't a lot of students read English a lot better than they understand it?
Yeah. Then you have to look at your level. Again, the human brain cannot listen and read at the same time. Okay? Brain research shows that. So if you have a lot of content on the screen and you want people to read it, then you need to pause to allow them to read it. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't talk over it. Don't throw up a bunch of content, and I don't know if I have any in here. You know? Like, okay, so this is scrolling. So you're trying to read that and you're trying to listen to me at the same time, and you can't do both. Your brain literally can't. You're either right now listening to me or you're reading the screen. You're going to miss something I said, and you're going to miss something that just showed up on the screen. Right? We know this, that the brain can't do it. So if you're going to put something on the screen, then pause, allow second language learners to read it. Once they kind of give you that visual cue of turning their eyes back to you, then you can go on with your presentation. So maybe you even want one slide that's kind of the content, that maybe is a heavy content slide, and I would say, okay, I'm going to pause for a second and give you 5 minutes to read this. And then I wouldn't say anything. And then my next slide would maybe be a picture with me explaining that content, to give them a visual reference to tie that content to. Does that make sense? Okay. Good question. Other questions or comments?
What's the brand of your remote again?
This is a Logitech.
Hey, no sales switches in Barcamp.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forget the model number on it. You can kind of see it. That's just a little USB one. It's fantastic. It's got a little laser pointer on it. Yes.
Just to comment on that one, I have a Bluetooth mouse, so my mouse, and that's really good as well. And I use a cable mouse because you can't walk around.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, get something wireless that allows you to do that. And it doesn't have to be this one. But find something that's comfortable to you. Yes.
So how often do you practice or do you wing it?
How often do I practice? I know my content, and that's number one. I have my story, because it really is about telling your story. I have the story in my head. Do I have every word down, like on cue cards? No. But I know what my story is going to go like. It probably takes me, for example, this was an hour presentation that I gave. And here's the other thing you're going to find, is your presentations get really long. So in a 1 hour presentation, I have probably 26 slides, 24 slides in 3 movies, and an hour presentation. Okay? And you can see all the slides there. They're nothing but images. So it probably took me to do this. I had to wrap my head around the content. And if you follow the presentationzen.com, which I totally suggest, is to get offline when you're playing. Get a piece of paper and sketch out your thinking. And that's what really solidifies the storytelling for yourself. Once you have that, then you're going to spend probably 3 or 4 hours finding pictures. Because you want to find the pictures that are going to tell your story and convey your story to your audience. That's where your time's actually spent.
So how long for coming up with the structure and how long for looking for?
So my structure usually is working in my brain for a couple days. But, as you're thinking of your presentation, I probably sit down and probably within an hour or so, I can have the structure outlined. Sometimes I use just Post-it notes, and I'll just have ideas on a Post-it note and move them around the board until I have the story in the format that I want. And then I go and I find the images that will tell that story for me. Okay? So this is a great image. This image goes with the story that the fastest growing internet users right now are between the ages of 45 and 65 and between the ages of 2 and 5. Right? And as an educator, we're getting ready to educate these kids. What are the skills they're going to come to school with? That's this picture. That's the story that goes with this picture. To frame that for you. Okay? And then after I get my pictures, it's probably an hour of just kind of tweaking. So it probably takes about 5 hours for me to put together an hour presentation. Now, as I've done this so much, I'm probably down to closer to 2.5, 3 hours. And I don't have to search for pictures. Like in my iPhoto library now, as you download pictures, you can reuse them. So I have my presentation pictures here. That's just all these pictures that I reuse. My presentation pics here that are just, which is nice. Once you download pictures, you've got them to use for whatever presentation. Yes?
There's only one thing. Why people are using bullets and a lot of text is because on a conference, a lot of people are asking for this presentation later on. So if I have your presentation later on, it's kind of useless for me because I only have the pictures.
Exactly.
But I totally agree to you.
Yeah.
A presentation is a presentation, and I'm pretty sure that PowerPoint is nothing else than Word in landscape mode for most of the people.
Right.
So my advice is that depending on the kind of conference, if you're explaining something and it's just supported by pictures, then you always should have a document where you have some more content.
Right.
Because it's like people can listen to you, that's okay.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to take home with you.
I just want to say slides are completely useless in slide share.
Yeah. Oh, I love them. The slides are completely useless. But here's my content. I didn't actually put it on here. But I actually have a handout. I have an online handout that goes with every presentation. And that's what you're talking about.
A wiki.
And mine's I just have a wiki that I can go in and update. And I update the links, I update the different videos that I use. And then I just tell people, go to this website, which is also building your tribe, as we were before, because now you're getting people to go to your website. But it's a great point that I have people, when I'm done, say, can I have your presentation? Well, this does absolutely nothing for people. So instead, guess what they have to do? They have to hire me to come and give a presentation. All right, it's a little after 1. I will stay here and answer other questions if you want, but it is a little after 1. Go. Thank you. Hopefully you got something out of this.